In our previous 4 cards, we've hit anywhere between 30 to 50% ROI, which is pretty damn good. Last card was the computer. Had some nice picks. Neil Magny, really good underdog. But also kind of missed a few. Nick Klein was a big one. But for me, for the human picks, a bit better. Still missed a pretty big win in Nick Klein. Cornell also kind of, they both started good in round 1 and faded really hard in round 2 and 3. So none of that. But overall, in terms of our locks, like picks we actually, recommend and support, they all pretty much hit, with the exception of Nick Klein, man. But now we know who he is, right? We know that he starts strong round 1, and if he doesn't get the finish, he fades like a in round 2. That's what he is. Now we know. But all in all, not too bad. Still 30% ROI for last week. There is no reason we should do anything less than 50% ROI on this week's super easy card. Let's go! Kicking off tonight, we have a very last-minute fight between Cody Brundage and Eric McConicle. And I don't really want to get too much into this fight, except for Brundage has a very high finish rate. McConicle has a very high... he's lost every one of his 3 fights by knockout. Just putting it out there, if you do want to touch on this fight, I think a Cody Brundage knockout or knockout/decision for a double chance could be in play here. But all in all, there's so many good fights. There's so many good fights in this card. I don't really know if we need to really look too much and put our faith on Cody Brundage, of all people. So yeah, moving on. We got Gabriela Hernandez fighting Julia Stoliarenko. And I think this fight is very, very simple for Gabriela Hernandez. Just avoid that submission. Julia Stoliarenko's takedowns aren't that good. I don't know how good Hernandez's takedown defense is, given her level of competition, but I think she's much better on the feet, and I honestly think she's just much better as an MMA fighter. There's really no real reason to worry about her getting submitted. She's never been submitted. All her losses have come by decision. So yeah, Hernandez here is the pick. I'm not going to really do the rounds here. I'm a bit worried that Hernandez will finish Stoliarenko at any point in time between rounds 1 and 3. But the money line here is confident, and it is in green. Next, we got Uros Medic fighting Gilbert Urbina. Again, another easy favorite. These favorites on this card is just, the gap's wide. Urbina's been really, really MIA. He's been really MIA, very inactive. He's had 0 decisions, win or loss, in the UFC. So he goes to finish. And that is the same for Uros Medic. Uros Medic has never ever seen a decision, whether it's a win or a loss, in his career. So naturally, under is a good play here. I don't know about the 1.5 though. A lot of people are doing under 1.5. I feel safer with under 2.5, although it's minus 450, which brings a point. Do you really want to pay minus 450 for the sake, of nail biting for a finish? Although it's likely to come. In terms of who's going to win, I think Uros Medic is. I'm not really impressed by him, by the way. Medic is, he's got basically no striking defense. He gets hit, he gets dropped. So he's, he loses by KO, he loses by submission. But Urbina doesn't have much offense. If you watch Gilbert Urbina's fights, he's just backing up. He doesn't really know what to do offensively. And I don't know if all that time off, maybe he's improved a lot. We'll be wrong. But all in all, I do think Medic is going to win. The computer also is confident in Medic. I'm just not as confident, so it's going to put it in yellow. Yellow meaning, it's a good bet. Something that we lean towards, not a must bet. The under 2.5 is a much better bet, although, again, it's unders and it's minus 450. I know it's not on the screen, but it's minus 450 for under 2.5, so I don't know if that's even worth it. Next, we got Jocelyn Edwards and Priscilla Caceres. Edward is minus 350. She coming off of a first round knockout win in her last fight against, I think, Chelsea Chandler. And the girl she's fighting, Priscilla Caceres, she hasn't had a decision since 2022, which is a long time for a female fighter. So this fight is just question marks all over the place. And if this was on a shittier card, like last week's card, then we'd be all over Edwards. And might even, put on the over 1.5, just because it's Edwards. Before her round 1 win last time around, she's had, decisions after decisions, or at least, round 3 finishes at the very worst. But I mean, for this fight, I'm kind of fading this. I when I looked at this, I really did like Jocelyn Edwards, and I still do. But it's no longer a green lock. It's one of those things where, if you do believe in Edwards, which I do think she's better, I think she's improving. I think she's looking really good. You could bet, but it's not something that I could fully back guarantee. Moving on, we got Elijah Smith and Toshiomi Kazama, and this one I can fully guarantee. I do think Elijah Smith is going to win. I don't think Toshiomi Kazama has any way of beating Elijah Smith. I put here submission threat because I think that's his only way, but looking at how good Smith was at able to just escaping, and getting out of tough situations in his last fight against Vince Morales gives me a lot of confidence in his submission defense. And if he has good submission defense, there's no way Toshiomi Kazama is going to out damage or out volume output Elijah Smith. And Elijah Smith has shown, that although he does kind of fade in round 3, he fights through it, right? He doesn't have terrible body language. I watched his Dana White Contender Series fight against Toe, right? And that was a really tough fight for him, but he muscled through it. He soldiered through it. So I do like Smith here. It's a blue lock. I just don't see a world where he loses. Round betting here is off, although I do like the under 1.5 if you really want to do that. But what's the point? Just take the free money on Smith, put in the parlay, and let's move on. Next, we got Julius Walker fight taking on Rafael Cerqueira. Rafael Cerqueira has 2 losses, both coming in the UFC, both in the first round, and both are knockout losses. Before that, he fought in some random promotions in Brazil, so we don't know how good this guy is. And honestly, looking at him, like his punches and kicks are clean, but he can't take a punch, man. He gets hit on the chin and he's done. And then, when he gets knocked out, it's not like he's struggling and fighting. No. He gets like put out. He got knocked out, a standing KO from Ibo Aslan from just covering up. And last time around, he lost to Modestas Balkauskas, and that was, a single punch knockout. Julius Walker he has a 100% finish rate. I'm just saying, this is not looking too good for Rafael. The odds suggest -600. The only thing I have to worry about Julius is how badly he gasses, or how badly he's gassed in his last fight against Alonzo Menafield. Although, to be fair, Alonzo Menafield is a much tougher task than Rafael Cerqueira. So I think Julius Walker should walk through Cerqueira, and I don't think there's any problem with that. Not super duper confident to a point where I can put it in blue, but a green here is good. I also don't really like the round betting here. I could be a first round, like, you know what I mean? Like, who's to stop him from being knocked out in the first round? Cerqueira, he's always been knocked out in the first round. But at the same time, I don't know, if Walker has the same striking prowess as the other 2 guys Cerqueira fought. Walker is more of like a take you down, ground and pound type of guy. So we'll see. Next, we got Eric Yaboy Enders taking on CLD, Christian Leroy Duncan. Very confident in Duncan here. I think Eric Enders is going to retire. I think he stated that he's retiring after this fight. And when guys are retiring, they usually lose. Because they've already have their mind and heart set elsewhere. He's already has another job as a real estate agent. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how much of Eric Enders' heart is in this. I think he's just collecting a paycheck. And even if his heart was in it, I still pick CLD. Eric Enders has shown throughout his career he has very, very low output, and that is not good. Fighting against a guy like Christian Leroy Duncan, who's just going to outpace you, right? Gonna grapple, do some hit some knees, clinch, throw some elbows, throw some strikes. Just looks very good for the judges. So I don't see Eric Enders really out damaging or out punching CLD here. Pretty easy fight here. CLD should be the winner. Blue lock. And the over 1.5 is also pretty good because Eric Enders is tough. And CLD has never been finished. So the over 1.5, not bad. Next, we got Miles Johns taking on Gene Matsumoto. This one, Gene should win. I mean, he's much more like just physically talented. He's 16-1. His last loss, his most recent loss, came against Rob Font, which is a really tough opponent, and it was a split decision loss, which I think he won. I mean, I watched the fight. I thought he won, but I could, it's not like a terrible robbage, but it's. I think he won. But either way, I don't see this fight too lopsided. I think it's going to be a close fight. Miles Johns should not be underestimated, but I do think at the end of the day, Matsumoto wins. The computer thinks so as well, but I think the much better bet here is the over 1.5. I mean, it's minus 500. Who gives a shit? Put in a parlay and bring it home. Next, we got Andre Fili and Christian Rodriguez. I'm not the biggest fan of this fight. I don't really know what to say about these two guys. Andre Fili is really old. He's like age fight-wise as well. He's gotten a lot of fights. He usually ends his fights either in the first round or early in the second, so the under 1.5 or whatever, or he goes to decision. So it's weird, man. He's a weird dude. If you look at his fight record, there's nothing in between. There's no like round 3 stuff recently, at least. It's either first round finish, whether he gets finished or he finished the other guy, or the fight goes to decision, goes to like a split decision. C-Rod is much more easier to kind of analyze. He's a lot more tankier, right? His fighting style is consistent. His over 1.5 looks really good, but put them together, I don't know. I think C-Rod should win just because, C-Rod is C-Rod. The computer thinks so as well. The over 1.5 I think is not bad. Am I going to love it as much as I like the Matsumoto over 1.5? I don't think so, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Next, we got Yasmin Lucindo taking on 40-year-old Angela Hill. And with any Angela Hill fight, I really don't care who wins. Give me the overs and we can bring it home. In this case, Angela Hill over 1.5 is minus 1,000. I mean, it sucks for a price, but it's 10%. 10% is not bad. How many people are there on the betting sites that can't make 10% every card, right? So 10% is not bad. Add it to a parlay, it sweetens it a bit. And if you want to do over 2.5, sure, be my guest. But I prefer over 1.5 because I don't want to sweat rounds 2 and 3. I don't even want to watch the fight in rounds 2 and 3, honestly. In terms of who's going to win, how do you pick a 40-year-old? Although I might add for a women's, it's a bit different. Age doesn't really matter as much. But I think Lucindo is and probably should be better than Hill. I don't think she's that great, but I think she's better than Hill. Next, we got Steve Erceg taking on a last short notice replacement in Ode Osborne, coming off his own upset victory over Luis Gurule. Steve Erceg, at this point, I think, is no longer as good and hyped as people thought he was. He beat a bunch of nobodies and then started to fight like the upper echelon of his weight class. And fought like Pantoja, fight Kai Kara France, and recently lost a 5-rounder to Brandon Moreno. So I mean, like Erceg, I don't know where his head's at. He's got 3 losses in a row. He's taking on a much lower competition in Old Osborne. But the main thing here is styles. Styles makes fights, and I think Erceg has a very, very good stylistic matchup against a standing striker in Old Osborne. If Erceg can get just 1 takedown per round, I don't see Ode Osborne getting up, and I don't see Ode Osborne surviving too many submission attempts. Just putting that out there. I don't think Ode Osborne also has the power to completely knock out Steve Erceg. So it might play out like the fight between Ode Osborne and Ronaldo Rodriguez. Ronaldo Rodriguez got knocked down by Ode Osborne and then came back, started grappling, and essentially basically beat Ode Osborne. I don't see this fight could easily play that way. I like Erceg. I don't know if he's gonna finish Ode Osborne, but I do like Erceg money line here. For round betting, I'm gonna hold off on that because this could very well be a first round submission, second round submission, third round submission, or a decision win for Erceg. Main event: Fluffy Rodriguez taking on Roman the Caucasian Dolidze. When I first saw this fight, I was very, very intrigued in Anthony Hernandez. I thought the line was going to be wider. Of all the minus 400, 500s, I thought Hernandez should be, because just like this matchup is not good. Roman Dolidze, he's low output. He's low output. Unless you're hurt, then he comes. Aside from that, he's low output. He's got like solid punches and knees and stuff, but they're not gonna bother Anthony Hernandez, right? If you need to beat Anthony Hernandez, you need to like throw high volume, matches volume, or throw like weird stuff. Roman Dolidze doesn't do that. Hernandez might lose round 1, but then we'll come back in rounds 2 and 3 if we even get to that point, and just smother Dolidze with wrestling. I know Dolidze's got good grappling, but that doesn't mean shit if you're tired. And I think Anthony Hernandez is going to tire out Roman Dolidze. I mean, he's 37 years old, for heaven's sake. Hernandez is the pick. I trust his cardio. I trust his fighting IQ. And I trust his momentum and his youth. Very confident pick in Hernandez. The over 1.5 is also a good pick. I mean, Roman Dolidze, say what you want. He's a tough dude. He's never been finished. So I think he can survive at least 1.5 rounds from Hernandez. And Hernandez doesn't really pick it up in the first round anyway, right? Hernandez comes on stronger in the second and the third. So the over 1.5 is a really safe play. Honestly, lots of blues, lots of greens. I don't think we can really mess this up. Hopefully, a 50% ROI. You can feel free to take a look at my BetMMA page. I will link it in the description below. And yeah, best of luck to you, and we'll see you next week.